and welcome to Connects Live. This is our 14th edition, and it's St. Patrick's Day. And so today we're celebrating. We're going to have a little cheer later on, and we're really pleased to welcome Mark Hamill as our guest today. And Mark is the CEO and co-founder of Arquette Global, which produces the Customer Centricity Awards. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks for having us, Mark. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. So I wanted to understand a little bit as we get started here. Just what is uh, Customer Centricity Awards? What does that mean to you as the founder of it?
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, I think just to go a bit back in time, I've been in this game for 7 or 8 years now, and it all started by seeing that there was a huge market for awards, and I have to say that I didn't really see there many opportunities for knowledge sharing. So that's the foundation of what we're trying to do with our awards. So it's the platform for sharing knowledge amongst peers primarily, and then the awards, are the end result that if you win, great, but there's more of a journey attached to it than the typical award. So I would say that's what we're trying to achieve. It's not just the winning, but it's and I'm not going to say the cheesy line, it's the taking part as well, but it really is. It is putting something forward and getting validation for what you're working on and then learning from others. That's kind of, in a nutshell, what we're trying to do with the awards.
It's fascinating. I got invited to be a judge for last year's session. It was a little bit overwhelming for me, given my other work, in that the content that we were supposed to judge, or that we did judge,
Mhm.
was a variety of things, from video to pretty in-depth write-ups to just like checklists and things like that. So it took a good investment as a judge to review the ones that we did. Tell me a little bit more about that process and sort of how you get involved as a judge on this.
Yeah, well, judges are typically invited, and then since last year, most judges that were involved in the first edition have come back again, which is fantastic for us. And the process is quite simple. It's a simple case study they would upload. Each company that enters the awards, for example, the judges would score those case studies, and then once the questions and feedback is relayed to each of the finalists, they would then produce a video, which is 15 minutes, and then the judges would score that as well. So it's like two-phase assessment process. And I think we took your feedback on board last year, Mark, about how much time it was taking. So we're pretty much limiting it one category per judge from now on as well.
Ah, yes, yeah. I think enthusiastic at the start out, and then you're like, oh gosh, I've got a deadline. But having a bunch of judges really makes a difference, because I'm kind of curious how many registration or submissions you get from companies, and what that ratio is to the number of judges involved.
Well, it depends. If you were to ask me this last year, around sort of October time after we just finished the North American Awards, we're looking at around 100 entries. But the World Series, which we just had, like in terms of close of entries, we had 300 entries. So we're just getting started, really. Those were our first events last year. So I'd say on average at the moment, it's around 200.
Wow,
And we're really, but in terms of what the judges' commitment would be, it'd be around 10 to 12 maximum.
10 to
Um,
12 judges.
10 to 12 entries
Oh,
per
entries
judge.
per judge.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow, that's a lot.
yeah.
And so you need a lot of judges, I guess, right? So um, I'm curious, the kind, when you separate out, like, you how many of these do you do? What other regions do you do?
We do the European Awards as well. So that's taken place in September. So that last year again took place 1 month ahead of the North American Awards. And then we
Mhm.
have the World Series. So we kind of tried to hit the best of the best from the two competitions against each other in sort of a very, well, the initial thought was like a Ryder Cup style format, but we completely binned that idea after initial feedback.
Ryder
Um,
Cup, like the greatest of, and then moving forward.
yeah, but we definitely didn't proceed with that. But yeah, we have quite a large network in the Middle East and Asia as well. So the World Series truly is an international event, which is great first year. So it's three major customer centricity ones around the world.
So tell me a little bit about what happened last year as an event organizer. We got together a few years ago and started talking about Dallas, and you were
Yeah.
going to have a physical event. Tell us what happened with you through the past year on that, and what you did to pivot.
Yeah. Well, I think we were talking in sort of June 2019 was the first time
Mhm.
we spoke, and you joined as a judge. So you're one of our first judges. But um, in terms of what we had to do, I think everyone in the events industry was scrambling, not knowing what to do. But I think it goes back to what I said at the beginning: is we were quite lucky that our focus as an event, physical or online, was about the content and knowledge sharing. So it was quite natural for us to move online because all we would have to do is just figure out what the logistics of how that would look. But um, we were also very, very conscious that a physical event being squeezed onto an online platform is not a good experience for people. And so we looked at what was the best out there. We watched many events which were uh, not that good, should we say. So we were learning from the mistakes of others at the beginning who didn't really have a choice. Whereas we had like 6 months to really learn from others. So um, within sort of 2 weeks, we decided everything's going online. So probably around early April, we decided all of our events would be online for the rest of the year. But we did have to push it out. So the North American Awards moved from June to October. And we were just about to put the deposit down for the Sheraton in Dallas as well.
Mm.
But yeah, lucky we didn't. But I think a lot of the hospitality companies have been very forthcoming with refunds from what I hear. So sure, it wouldn't have been a problem. But and then but as a result of that, we were able to have a much more accessible event as well. So we had companies from all over North, Central, and South America enter the awards. And for those of you here that were at the awards, I'm sure, especially if you were a judge, you would have seen some from Mexico, Brazil, for example. So that was a real bonus for us. I'd say really positive from outcome from the whole thing.
It's interesting. You in North, it's called the North American one, right?
Yeah.
As when I created the MSPA, Mystery Shopping Provider Association years ago, we expanded into Europe and also Asia and South
Mhm.
America. And we found that overall, the people in South America really wanted what North America was doing as well. So we ended up
Mhm.
just calling it the Americas instead
Yeah.
of North America. And that way, now it has many people from the whole hemisphere, I guess you might say,
Yeah.
or this side of the world. And as you look at growth in this, in particular within the CX community, where do you see as some of the next things that are down the pike based on what you've done with your meetings?
Well, for us, we just want to build these programs out and build the credibility for those to make them the awards in this space.
Hmm.
So the better and increased credibility that we have for these programs, then there's going to be they're going to be more sought after. It's going to be more competitive, and more people involved means more knowledge shared as well. So we're not in the business of just building out programs just because of a certain geography. So we'll see how that goes. If something comes our way and maybe somewhere that's maybe too good to turn down in another region, we would consider it definitely. But at the moment, it's these three markets, and well, Europe, North America, and then the World Series. So those are the three that we're really focused on, and just building those out and making them better year on year.
So what other things do you do to engage your community, if you will, between now and the event date? What kind of things do you do to keep everyone interested and engaged?
Yeah, good question. I suppose it's things like this, really. We do, and there's a few people here that are regulars for our webinars that we have, and particularly for North America. But it's free content from judges, from partners, from entrants, winners, whoever really, depending on the topic and the content strategy that we have. So just regular webinars, community events, which are quite relaxed. And like this. Maybe not with a beer every time, but certainly certainly relaxed, and yeah, just build that out. And I think the North American one has a lot of frequent uh, attendees that come back over and over again. Europe, because of the different nationalities, it kind of depends who's speaking, what country they're from, what network um, they sort of link into. But still, we get a lot of regulars there from. That usually covers Europe and Middle East actually, but once a month at least we'll have webinars.
And also, I guess back in the old days, you have live meetings as well. I know
Yeah.
that was planned in Dallas. I don't know if you actually came or not, but I think
Yeah,
there
we had
was
a
a meeting
couple.
there. Yeah, there was a
We
meeting there. I
yeah.
think maybe someone here was on that. It went and attended as well, and was possibly Judge Michelle. Probably was at
Yes.
that. Yeah. So what does this do for a company that enters and wins? What's in it for them?
Well, it depends. I mean, from my experience, people enter to win all the time. Every single company that enters wants to win, but it's some of them want to do it. If it's a CX team, for example, some of them just want to validate that they're on the right track and see what others are doing to improve what they're already working on. And from an individual's perspective, some of them do it for personal recognition and or for their team as well. If they're a team leader, for example, or senior manager, they want to get recognition for their staff. Some do it bizarrely, but it does happen. And they do tell us very upfront, I want to win this award because I want to move jobs soon, which each their own. But yeah, that happens now and again. So it's a real range of reasons, but the learning element is a common thread, and of course everyone wants to win. So those are the things I would say. But for our events as well, it's built on a networking platform, so that's something that was very successful for the last two events, and making sure that people were actually getting some leads out of it, and it's all very structured. So that sort of business networking, which you can't necessarily get on online events all the time, especially if it's one-way traffic communication. It's so that the lead generation as well is one of the reasons to come.
So within, that brought up an interesting thought. These awards, are they for companies, the individuals, or what? And how do you, who claims the ownership of the award?
Oh, it's definitely the companies. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong, but it's just interesting some of the conversations you have with people that are getting involved, and that when they let you know what their real motivation is. Now and again, they do say it's for them personally more so, but 99 times out of 100, it's to do with the motivation for their team and validating what they're working on, and kind of getting momentum for moving forward as well.
Mhm. Super. We have a couple of questions here from the audience. I'd like to welcome Jim Bennett to come up and turn on your mic and your video, and ask away.
Sure, I changed my question from the original one. So very, very interesting, Mark. How do you come up with the criteria? And I'm on your website, and do they know the specific criteria before they present the award?
Yes, they know in advance, and the criteria is basically extremely simple. It's not per category. There's not special criteria per category. It's just there as a mechanism for them to tell their story. So it's building a case study. So we look at what planning went into it, who was involved, what was the business reasons behind it, then the implementation. So how did you do it, and who was involved, and then the results. And that is simplifying it a little bit, but not too much. It's pretty much it. And then of course it has to be relevant to the category they're entering, but that's pretty much it.
Good. Follow-up question. So I'm not. Is Arquette? Is that how you said Arquette Global?
Yeah, correct.
Is this to build recognition for your organization and bring business in, or is there a or are you able to monetize this in itself?
Oh, this is our core business. So we monetize it in a way where there's two revenue streams: sponsorship, and then also the companies that are entering. And not only do they pay to attend, but as part of their package, and that includes the trophy if they win. For example, the digital winners pack includes access to the portal afterwards, where all the content is stored, and the benchmarking report. So that's something where all the judges, all the comments that they provide and feedback, that goes on to a transparent benchmark feedback report, where they see what their scores were versus other competitors in their category. So there's huge amount of value in that as well. So that gets provided for each category that they enter as well.
Nice, thank you.
Jim, by the way, is with the Virtual Meetings and Events Association, And I was kind of curious, Mark, does your model work for other industries like, say, virtual events, to have an awards for those folks?
It could do, yeah. I think the formula that we have is like, to give you a bit of ancient history. My previous company, we ran, albeit it wasn't online, but the same model was used for. We ran a sustainability and CSR awards for 5 years out of Dubai. We had a real estate awards and a general business excellence awards. So it could be, certainly.
Mhm.
Sounds
Of
like
course,
it would. I like it. Thank you.
it's a growing territory for sure, and it's not easy to manage. It can't be. I mean, your platform is fantastic because it does handle all the things about judges and presentations and all that, and that's a lot of stuff. So yeah, we're gonna find. We have two more folks with questions here, so let me get to them. Thanks, Jim, and you guys probably should connect sometime, maybe in the breakouts. So we have another question here from Carl. Carl, if you will, go ahead and come to the stage and.
Sure, thank you. I'm curious, Mark, because I get a lot of emails. They seem like weekly, daily, about this award and that award. There's so many out there, and especially in the CX field. How do you distinguish RCAT from all the rest out there? I mean, what would be the how would you distinguish? How would you say RCAT is different? What distinguishes? What makes it that different than any other award?
I think a couple of things. The transparency of it, as I mentioned about the benchmark reports, that's one thing that I don't think most awards out there, whether it's in CX or any other awards, or industry awards, would do. The fact that you know what your competitors are doing as well. So, for example, when you come to the event, if you were competing in, let's say, business change or transformation, as soon as you arrive at the event, the content from all your competitors is there and you're able to watch it. So you know what they're doing. There's none of this issue with, well, they shouldn't have won, or what, these sorts of issues are very, very rare. And then also all our judges are independent. And we have enough judges where they're able to meticulously look at the entries. And I'm sure you've seen some awards out there which may or may not have, like, let's say 10 judges, but hundreds of entries. There's no way anyone has enough time to do that properly. So those are just a few things. But then I think just all of that adds up to sort of the credibility that we're trying to build. And it's our core business. So maybe that's another thing. Usually it's like an add-on to a conference or an industry award that's trying to do it to have it as their big bash or whatever. But we do work with some of these, like chambers of commerce as well, where we lend our services professionalize their awards. But yeah, those are some of the reasons I would say that we're quite different than others.
Well, thank you. And one quick one is, how do you become a judge?
Contact me on LinkedIn. No, I'll put my colleague Jenny in touch.
Okay, thanks.
Excellent. And we have time for one more question. So this one's coming from Brian Powers. Brian, go ahead and turn on your stuff.
Thanks, Mark. And Mark Hamill, we haven't met directly. My company, Brightstar, we are up for 3 of these awards.
Yes, indeed.
I was on a CX networking session just last week with Mark Mickelson, and I said, you know what, there's this great business idea out there by this guy, Mark Hamill, and he said he was interviewing you today. So that's why I'm on today, not to get the scoop, but I can help provide some of this. We applied for the PR, right? Just blatantly, just for recognition that, we applied. We're a finalist in 3 of the categories, so that's great. And so we did the press releases, got picked up by Bloomberg News. It's on our LinkedIn. Yeah, so it's great, to recognize the team internally, but also to get that external appreciation. The business development people are using that in some of the proposals, so it's good for that. And then as a side benefit, we're working on our videos now. We're getting a lot of people excited about, the possibility. And is there something else besides a winner, most notable or anything, or is it just winner per category?
Yeah, no, there's also the like a credible, whether they're second or third, it all depends on the percentage. So 80% or over, there's a highly commended.
So a side benefit is now I have access to last year's videos. I got to see different presentations, the international flair, because it is a global World Series and the many different approaches to the same problems that we all have around customer feedback, getting, investment, trying to prove an ROI, getting top level support. It's all things that we as CX professionals deal with all the time. But two questions then. One is, what's an interesting trend since you're the center of the universe for all these videos? And what's unique about some of the winner videos that you've seen?
Well, good questions. I have to say, trends is the one that keeps coming up is always talking about ROI. I'm sure everyone's heard that 1,000 times. That's the one that they really struggle with, and that's the results sections of entries is ones that we usually have to go back to and say. So just to be clear, and I'm not sure if this happened to you or not, Brian, but anyone that applies and it's not up to the standard first time, we do go back to them and say, this needs a bit more weight, and it usually is in the results section. So I'd say the commonality is usually that results are hard to find for them. So, and I think that some of them are structural challenges. For example, it might be the corporate comms team that's writing the entry on behalf of the CX team. So they might not be able to pull that information off for whatever reason. If it's a CX team that's writing it and the results aren't there, then I would say that's more of a worry. But it's usually to do with the results where there's an issue there. But in terms of like the diversity of the categories, which I'm sure you've seen, and I'm not sure off the top of my head exactly which ones you've entered, Brian, but there's some of them are so different. So yeah. I wouldn't say there's a common thread across all the categories, but in terms of the writing, usually results. And then videos wise, sorry,
Mark, as a follow-up on the LinkedIn, you could post a link to the Customer Centricity World Series. Thanks, Mark. Videos. Yeah,
and then so the videos, it's all about sticking to the criteria. I think we had some videos that were like invested more time, money, and effort into the production value versus the actual quality of the content. So the content is what you're going to be scored on. So anyone that's for their video, just stick to the criteria. That's the best advice I can give.
No music on it. Yeah.
Well, some of the judges here, Michelle, you're here. You're the judge. I don't know whether you want to offer some feedback from a judge's perspective.
Yeah, I would say that your ability to clearly articulate the problem statement, the actions, and the result. I mean, it's almost like that, if you were applying for a job, what specifically was done? What were some of the obstacles? I mean, it's a safe place for you to, what I call the reallys, because that's what I think the judges appreciate is what really happened, not what you're pitching at the, as a keynote speaker at a big event.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Well, this has been
Thanks,
great. And if I want to close it out here in just a second so we can get on to our networking. But if you're interested in participating with RCAT Global, it's simply the URL is customercentricityawards.com. So you can go visit that customercentricityawards.com, learn more about the awards program that RCAT is doing. And Mark, it wouldn't be St. Patrick's Day without a beer. So cheers to you, my friend.
Cheers, my Austrian beer in an Austrian glass for whatever.
Like a proper Belfast.
Exactly.
And one more question for you, Mark. How often do you get confused as Luke Skywalker?
Quite often. I look very like him.
Oh, yeah, your name is the same. So I figure you probably get a lot of fan mail.
Yeah. It was bad at school, I have to say. Teachers were,
The Mark Hamill is going to school here. Fantastic. Well, Audrey, let's close it out here, and we'll get over to the networking side. Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks so much.